session, and this session is all about remembering for tests and exams. So the trick to remembering for tests and exams is you need to know the facts before you go into any type of test and exam. You all know that, because if you don't know it, you can't make it up, can you? So you've got to get the facts down in a format that you can use for recall. And then we start to use one of the techniques and tips. So preparation is key. So you need to be ready, you need to have it written down, and you need to be ready to recall it. And keep using those three things. Be ready in the right state. You need to get the water down you. You need to breathe. You need to be in an environment that you're going to make sure your intent is to use that wonderful memory of yours. Okay? So if you're remembering, for example, you needed to know 20 facts to write an essay, say, that's what I'm going to teach you today. 20 facts that is going to trigger your preparation and the things that you've written down. Now, many people in the UK are doing their A-levels and GCSEs at the moment, and you need sometimes to remember facts. This is the trick. So what you do is you get those 20 facts in place written down, and then you use one of the systems I've been using. So you can use the number list, you can use the body list, or you're going to use what I'm going to describe today, the house list. And the house list can be never ending. It isn't up to 1 to 10. It can be 1 to 50. It just depends on the preparation that you've done before. Okay? So this is how you use the house memory technique. All of us live in some type of abode, some type of house. What you need to do in preparation for the house technique is go into each room and find 5 things that you can peg items to. The house I use is actually a house I lived in 25 years ago, and I'm still using the same house to remember those 25 things on the list. So what I need to do to prepare for this technique is go into every room and find 5 individual things that I can peg. Remember, we talked about peg, an image on or a memory onto. Okay? So in my old house 25 years ago, you went through the front door. That was peg number 1. Next to the front door was the alarm system, peg number 2. Next to the alarm system was a dining table, peg number 3. Peg number 4 was the electric cupboard, where the electric meter was. And peg number 5 was the bookshelf. Now, it's easy to remember those things because they're all new in this room. I've not looked at any other rooms in the house, so I'll go through it again. Front door, alarm system, dining table, electric cupboard, bookshelf. Then I moved into the next room, which was my sitting room. So there I had the settee. Oh no, beg your pardon. I had the cupboard under the stairs. The next one was the settee. The next one is the fireplace. The next thing was the window with the plants in. And the next thing was the TV. So I'll go through that again. Cupboard under the stairs, settee, fireplace, seat with the plants, TV. Can you see what I've done? In each of the rooms, I've distinctly marked out a place. Now, in my old house, there was 2 fireplaces. I had a fireplace in the front room and a fireplace in the second room. You can only use the same type of thing once because you'll get confused. So can you see what I've done? I've now spatial anchors it's called, each room. And then if I went up to the bedroom, I had a similar technique. Bedside table, double bed, window. I had like an ornate desk area. Okay, and then I had the radiator. 5 things. I went down the hall, and in the office there was the cabinets. Okay, there was a picture on the wall where my certificates were. There's the cupboard under the stairs that leads to the loft. Then there was a place where low-level bookshelves, and then my desk. Again, 5 places. And you need to do this for each room. And then we all know now, using the memory techniques that we've used and we've learned together, is basically what you do is you pin facts to those parts of the house. So don't forget, if we're preparing for an exam, we've noted the facts down, and what we need now is an image for those facts, and then we link it to the parts in the room. Okay. Now I haven't got time to go through an example of that, like a big example with 20 or 30. So don't forget, 5 rooms times 5 is 25. 6 rooms is 6 things you remember. But I'm just going to make this up. So say I have to remember, let me think, just making it up. Different Shakespeare plays, okay? So if you're watching in the chat or you're watching at the time, put a Shakespeare play and I'll try and use it. So I'm going to go for number 1, The Merchant of Venice. So to remember The Merchant of Venice, I go to my front door, and maybe I see Shakespeare knocking on the door, which gives me a bit more, memory and link. So number 1 is front door, and it's The Merchant of Venice. Now, a character in The Merchant of Venice is Shylock, and I'm imagining Shylock at my door, talking about his pound of flesh. He's holding his heart, and he's talking about his pound of flesh. Okay. Number 2, Hamlet. Number 2, Hamlet, and in the house is my table. And I'm imagining Shakespeare with his Hamlet cigar. Dum, dum. Do you remember that music that used to dum dum? And Hamlet is smoking his cigar with his "Alas, poor Oric, I knew him well," okay, in his hand. That's number 2. Number 3 then is the electric cupboard, and we've got Romeo and Juliet. What could we do for the electric cupboard? Well, the electric cupboard you opened up, and the the electric meter was there, and all the gubbins and the switches and the fuses. So so what's the famous line in Romeo and Juliet? Romeo, Romeo, or art thou Romeo? So I've got the cupboard door opening, lots of electric sparks, and Juliet popping out of that cupboard. Sounds weird, doesn't it, all this? But honestly, it works, right? So next one, Macbeth. Well, Macbeth, you've got the 3 witches, haven't you? You've got the 3 witches, and they start it off with that classic speech, don't they? That classic speech of Macbeth. So number 4 in the house was the fireplace. So I've got the witches coming out of the fireplace doing that speech. And then number 5, oh, that's a good one. Much ado about nothing. So that's an interesting one, because that's a strange concept in the head, isn't it? So I've got to think of something that's much ado about nothing. Much ado about nothing. Now, I don't know that play, so let me see. Much, and this is why you have to really start to make those words into something visual. Much ado. Right, so in my head, right, I've got, in Liverpool, where my family are from, they have do's. You have a do, you have a wedding do, you have a Christmas do, you have a party, and that's called a do, right? So I've got an image now of the bookshelf with all these little parties, all these people dancing on the bookshelf, with Shakespeare dancing away. And they're having a party, and they're doing loads of brilliant things, okay? So I've just done 5 there. So should we go through them? So the front door, we've got Shakespeare, and we've got Shylock knocking on the door. So that's, of course, The Merchant of Venice. We've got the front table. We've got someone smoking a cigarette. Dum, dum. That's Hamlet. Number 3 is Romeo and Juliet, of course, because Juliet is popping out of the electric cupboard with sparks. And then number 4 is Macbeth, because you've got the 3 witches in the green smoke coming out of the fire. And then the last one, that strange scene with lots of people dancing on my bookshelves, and it's Othello. Can you see what I've done? It only took 2 minutes to do that. And if I had a list of all Shakespeare's plays, all of them, I could put them in different parts of the house. Now you're thinking perhaps to yourself, so I get to the exam, Steve, and I'm in the exam and it says name 20 Shakespeare plays. It might not, but anyway, if it does, what do it, I haven't got time to do all this thing. So what I suggest you do, as soon as you get to your exam, what you do is you read the paper, you read it well, you read the question, and then you have 10 or so minutes of doing a mind dump on a rough piece of paper. And a lot of exams allow you to have rough piece of paper, and you don't use those rough piece of paper. And what you do, you literally get it all out your head. All out your head. So you sit there and you go, right, 20 Shakespeare plays, write them down. Use your memory technique, write them all down. And you get them all written down like that, and you get them out onto the paper. And then you've got a source to refer to when, it's almost like taking a book in. So you record the book in your head, and then you're putting the book back on paper. And then you can do the test. It does sound a bit weird, doesn't it? All this sort of memory and using it, your house for it. But you have a go. You have a go remembering 20 items, 30 items using that technique. Doesn't have to be the full item. It could just be little snippets of information. So, for example, say you were doing the British citizenship test or the Canadian citizenship test. You need all the questions, don't you? You need all the knowledge. All you're doing is creating a way to store the knowledge and to give you little snippets of a memory image in your head. Now, you'll remember when I started to do this, when I did Merchant of Venice, I remembered Shylock straight away. When I talked about the table with Hamlet smoking his pipe, I remembered a music sound, but I also remembered his name, Alas Porrick. Romeo and Juliet, I could quote the Juliet. Macbeth, I remember there was 3 witches. I don't know about much ado about nothing, but you can see that's just stuck in my throat, stuck in my head, so it stayed there. So that's using the house technique, and you use the house technique for many different things, but I like to use the house technique for remembering facts. And it's really good because that house image is so strong. A lot of these techniques, the key is what you do is you recall them. So I'll do this exercise now, and then maybe in 2 hours, I'll go and do a quick recall. And you just keep reinforcing it in your head. And that's why I can remember the body list, and I can remember the 1 to 10 list, because you know what? I was having a shave this morning, and I just spoke out loud the 10 things because I knew I was going to do this today. So there's a lot there, folks, but basically some techniques for remembering for tests. And here's a quick summary. I'm going to do my 5 quick summary for remembering facts and figures for tests. So number 1, preparation is key. Get the facts down, write it down so you can recall. Make it nice and neat. Have it there written down. Number 2, pick a method and use that method consistently. So we're using pegs, memory pegs. So you can use the 1 to 10, you can use the body list, and you can use now the house list. That's at least 50 facts you can remember. All right. Number 3, please look after your own health when you're in an exam season. You need to breathe, relax, and we all know the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 method, where you go breathe in for 5, hold for 5, and breathe out for 5. We all talk about this, actually. It's a great method just to calm your nervous system down. Hydrate. Number 3 is all about looking after yourself. Hydrate. Drink lots of water. This is the juice that makes the brain work. Okay? This is the juice that makes the brain work. Clean water. Often. And also don't forget to take time out. So that's looking after yourself. How then can you make sure you are structuring your time? Use the Pomodoro technique, which we've talked about before, or 17-minute sprints, which we've talked about before. Pomodoro technique is a technique 25 minutes and then 5 minutes off. Slightly if you're going to use it for, slightly change it if you're going to use it for a memory recall. So what you do is you state your intention, what you're going to be doing in the next 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes of focus study. Do a 5-minute sort of recall, okay? 5-minute recall. and then have your 5 minutes off. State your intent, 20-minute focus, 5-minute games of recall, getting it out and just recalling it, and then 5 minutes off. And then you go back and repeat. So that's the Pomodoro technique that you can use. If you use the 17-minute sprints, very similar. Do your 17-minute sprints, focus, maybe 3 or 4 minutes of recall. Take some time out, get away from screens, get some fresh air, stand up, stretch, glass of water, and then come back to your focus time. And that's tip number 4. And then the last tip, number 5, for recalling for exams is don't forget recall activity. So you can't just put your stuff in your brain and hope it sticks. You've got to keep practicing it, keep recalling it. And you keep repeating it over again. And you keep using emotion when you're doing it. And you keep storing it in. So if we go over the 5 things for remembering exams, here they are. Number 1 is preparation is key. Number 2 is pick a peg method. Number 3, look after yourself, be kind, drink, hydrate, etc. Number 4, use a time investment system, the Pomodoro technique, 17-minute sprint. And lastly, number 5, which I've just done, see what I've just done? Gone round in a circle and recalled and played games within having fun. So that's the technique for today. It's a memory for remembering for tests and quizzes and things like that. I hope you enjoyed it. If you've got any comments, please pop them in the chat. Any ideas that you've got for using memory techniques that you could share when this is shared out to people, pop that in the chat. And don't forget, if you're watching me, say hello. Say hello to me and where you're from. If you're watching at another time, use hashtag replay or watch. That's always good as well. Next week, I am going to do the session on remembering a speech without notes. So remembering a speech without notes, which is a really useful technique to know with memory. And I hope you're enjoying them. Please tell me if you're enjoying these memory techniques, what we're doing in memory.